is a performance marketing strategist with a specialization in data analytics and technical marketing. He has nearly 5 years of experience in a multitude of industries and clients. He served as the technical implementation lead for advanced analytics and measurement projects and worked on dozens of server-side tracking projects for websites ranging up to several hundred of thousands of monthly users. And if you were here in the last session, you know that I've gotten really competitive about the fact that we can hear cheering through the walls to the other room. So we are going to give the biggest, warmest welcome to Ash.
Thank you so much, everyone. I'll start with saying thank you so much for being here today. I'm thrilled to be here. And when we talk about first-party data collection itself is probably more of a 2023 concept, but we're here today to dig deeper and discover what, with the latest in technology, what's actually possible. So, if you've ever wondered how to make your data work harder for you, or maybe even make it a competitive advantage, you're in the right room. With data, privacy, and tracking, there's a lot of noise out there. But instead of feeling limited by what you can do, I'm here to show you what's actually possible. So here's what we're going to talk about today. First, we'll start with an intro to first-party data. Then we'll look into CRM integrations, not just syncing contacts, but actually enriching your data. Then we'll look into site speed. Yes, tagging can affect it, and there's a smarter way to do it. Third, we'll look into data customization for different vendors. We're talking HIPAA, GDPR, how to stay compliant without losing any capabilities. Just a few housekeeping rules here. We'll have some time at the end for question and answers, as you know, and the slides will be available. If for some reasons you don't get it, just connect with me on LinkedIn and message me. I'll make sure to get them to you. And if there's anything that we discussed here today that sparks a deeper question in you on how this applies to your specific tech stack, please feel free to connect. I'm always happy to chat. So, who am I, and why should you believe a single word that I say here today? Thanks, Zoe, for a great intro. But for any of you who missed, my name is Ash Brar, and I'm a digital marketing specialist at Clearmotive, with a bit of bias towards performance marketing and data. I've led multiple projects across different industries specifically for measurement and analytics implementations. So I have first-hand experience on what works, what breaks, and what quietly bleeds your budget when no one's looking. Apart from that, I've been lately geeking out over automation and innovation, so we'll hopefully have something exciting coming out of that as well. And as far as believing me goes, well, I just turned 25, and I probably know all the trends on TikTok, so take your chances. So, what is first-party data? It is the data that you collect directly from your users. No middlemen, no guesswork. There's also second-party data. That is when you're using someone else's first-party data. Third-party data is aggregated form of data. Think of that as the data that you get from data brokers or even the interest targeting that you see in advertising platforms such as Meta, Google, and such. There's also zero-party data. That is the data that is publicly available to you. The data that you can get from surveys or any kind of quizzes and such. Out of all these four types of data, first-party data is increasingly becoming the only kind of data that we can rely on long-term. Why? That's due to its compliance and accuracy. But why is it important? Well, it's not just good to have anymore. It's a strategic shift throughout the industry. I'm sure you've all heard about first-party data a lot throughout your 2 days here. So here, when we look at the device usage by brand, we can see that Apple is leading the chart. And by the way, this is not just a random stat that we found on the internet. We have looked through multiple of our GA4 accounts and collected and aggregated that data. And this is the result that we're seeing across multiple accounts, across multiple industries, where Apple is actually leading the chart for device usage. So, because most of your users are coming from Apple devices, and Apple is leading chart on things like privacy, with app tracking transparency, and default cookie blocking. If you're still relying on third-party pixels and cookies, you're probably missing a huge part of the puzzle. But why first-party data? Well, first-party data is accurate and reliable, so you get better and quicker decision-making, stronger customer relationships, so better lifetime value per customer, compliance regulation, so it's actually pretty good for HIPAA and GDPR and all that kind of stuff. So you are protecting yourself for any future fines and stuff. Personalized marketing, so you can find your users in the noise. Last, but I think pretty important, especially if you're in performance marketing field, campaign effectiveness. If you probably already know that a lot of the advertising platforms these days, they work on, a lot of the advertising platforms these days, they work on machine learning models. And if you're giving them better data, you're going to get better conversions, and so better ROI for your business. And if you have a website and wondering, okay, does that apply to me as well? Yeah, you can use all these benefits, whether you have a website or an app. So strategy on how to go about for achieving first-party data. The step one is to define your data collection goals. So you should define the different data points or insights that you're looking for, and also the depth of each point of data. Step two is to choose a data collection method. These can be just web forms or tracking pixels and cookies and such, but my personal favorite is probably the login functionality. So if you have a website where the user behavior on site aligns to have a login functionality, I would highly suggest you doing that. And why is that important? Well, it gives you really good visibility across device and across sessions and also across channel. Then step three is to integrate your data. Just integrate all of your CRMs, CDPs, and analytics platforms. So this is what a basic first-party data setup looks like. Here we're using Google Tag Manager. If you are already familiar with what a Google Tag Manager setup looks like, and you're wondering, okay, am I gonna have to redo the whole thing that I have? Start from the beginning? Well, no. The web tag that you currently have, it can live as is. This is just an extension on top of your existing project or existing setup. Here, we're using two containers. One is web container, and another one is server container. But in this setup, instead of sending data directly to googletagmanager.com, we're sending data to data.yoursite.com. This is actually the important part, which makes it first-party data. Now, you're creating cookies on your site through your own subdomain, which makes it first-party. You have full capability to manipulate these cookies however you want. One of the very basic functionalities of this setup is to increase the lifetime of a cookie from say 1 day to 3 months. So you can already see how big of a difference that can make in your tracking. 1 day to 3 months. And now let's look at what you need to implement it technically. You need a cloud setup here. Since we're sticking to just the overall Google suite, we're using Google Cloud, but you can use Amazon, Microsoft, or whatever it is that you have. And with that, you'll need an unused app engine. If you're wondering, okay, I have a website, do I still need an app engine? Yeah, app engine is basically a part of the cloud, which is responsible for sending and receiving data. So even if you're using, if you have a website or an app, you still need the app engine. Then you'll create a subdomain. This can be something like data.yoursite.com or sgtm.yoursite.com. And after that, you'll configure the data flow. If you have the strategy part that we discussed earlier done already, this part will become much easier. And then you'll control your data sharing. We'll talk more about this part when we go to HIPAA and GDPR and all that side of things. So if you are a marketing manager and wondering, okay, Ash, I like the setup, I want to go to my client and just start a conversation about the setup. Give me something solid. Help me make a business case, maybe. Okay, let's discuss financials. Although it seems pretty complex, it's pretty inexpensive. For a site that handles monthly users of 3,000 to 4,000, you're looking at a cost of $85. The cost also depends upon, obviously, the users, but the events and associated parameters. So I hope this gives you like a benchmark to get the conversation started. So, what does it actually mean to control your data? First-party data setup is not the end. It's just a gateway. So now, let's take you beyond first-party to the other side. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. That's what you get when you go beyond the basics. Here, we'll discuss a few implementations which are basically to give you an idea of different capabilities that you have available on your hand if you want to use. And the capabilities here may define on how you want to use it for your brand specifically, because of the way your funnel is set up and all that. But this should just give you an idea of, okay, these are the things that are available out there, and I can use that for my brand. So let's first start with the reducing site load speed. This is a pretty general problem for context-heavy sites. For example, any shopping site, e-commerce site, where you want to have all that context live on your site for enriching your data and context, but it really slows down your site speed. Well, enters first-party data. Through this, you can store and process your data off-site and trigger only when necessary or when it's ready to be sent to your analytics using a key pair value, a unique key pair value, such as a product ID. If your site is not an e-commerce, this can differ, obviously. The unique value can be something else, but just to give you an idea of that is the implementation that you can do in this case. Then enriching your data. Here, I want to talk about some, let's say, personal experiences. Are you kind of tired of your executives complaining about, oh, well, my data doesn't really match. My data in my ad platforms doesn't match what we're seeing in the back end of the site. Anybody else that faces that problem? Yeah, pretty common, right? So, you don't need to worry about that anymore. Why? Because you can change that. With first-party data setup, you can make your data 30% more accurate. So, who's ready to make their data 30% more accurate? Woo! Amazing, amazing, amazing. Well, this reminds me of a client of mine. They are a pretty well-known sports team here in Calgary. They're pretty famous for wearing red, I believe. So we were able to improve their data accuracy by 35%, centralize their reporting, and also improve their campaign ROI, especially on Meta, using this setup. So let's look at a real-world example on what this actually looks like in action. Here, let's say a user comes to your site and they fill out a lead form. It counts it as a conversion, but and that data is sent to your company server. But before sending it to all of the other tools, let's say Google Analytics, ad platforms, or whatever it is, it checks with your CRM. It checks if it is an existing lead, and the CRM returns value that yes, it is actually an existing lead. Now that data is sent to your company server, and it's based on a contextual logic. It updates that it's not a conversion anymore because it was duplicated. And then that updated data is sent to your different platforms, whether Google Analytics and all that. So that is how you get better and more accurate data. Now this is again just a very specific one use case. It can vary on different basis, whether you're using a CRM or you have some other kind of data enriching platform attached to it. But yeah, just one way to do that. Now let's talk about compliance. HIPAA, GDPR, PII, or CCPA. If you are a brand that operates in a space where you have to deal with sensitive data, I'm sure you're probably familiar with all of these terms. Or maybe you're a brand who decides to, at some point, not send their data to Google, Meta, and all those platforms because it doesn't align with your ethics and morals anymore. First-party data setup allows you to have that capabilities. It gives you full control. Let's look at the previous example here. Here, what we did was we added more to what we already had. We enriched our data through our CRM. Once the data is in our company server, we also have the capability to take some of that parameter, some of that data out. And in this case, for sensitive data, that is what we do. We take some of that data out and only send what we want for all of those different vendors that we want to send them, basically. HIPAA specifically applies to healthcare. So if you're a brand, let's say healthcare plans, nursing homes, etc., HIPAA is specific to that. But sensitive data overall, that can apply to education, banking, and law, and so many other fields. So if you're a brand who is looking to save yourself from hefty fines, this is your best bet. And let me tell you about a brand, BetterHelp. I'm sure many of you might have heard about them. They're a brand that operates in therapy and mental health space. And they were fined $7.8 million by FTC because they were not HIPAA compliant. Also, in 2024 alone, globally, there have been so many brands that have been fined millions of dollars and hundreds and thousands of dollars for GDPR and HIPAA. So why take any risk? Save your brand and future-proof your data through first-party data setup. In the end, I've prepared these 3 resources. 2 of them are scripts that you can implement on your site directly from GTM. One of them is for to help you count number of visits per users. If any of you uses GA4, you might think, okay, maybe I can already do that, but not really. You can look at individual users, but you can never get a complete report of all the users and see how many visits each of them had. So the script should help you with that. And the second one is to help you with tracking the heat map for your mouse tracking movements. And there are instructions in there to help you guide how to visualize it and all that. And the third one is very specific to HEPA. So it has all the different variables like PII, parameters and such that you should not be collecting. So it just gives you an idea on whether or not you need to take any action or if your plan is good to go. And here is my your QR code for connecting with me on LinkedIn. If you for some reason don't get this slide, please feel free to again just message me and I'll make sure to send you this and all the resources as well. Thank you so much.
Good job with the cheering. I'm very proud of us. We do have a few minutes for Q&A. Does anybody have any questions they want to kick us off with? Yeah, right there. We do have a mic, so you don't have to shout.
Hi Ash, thank you, great session. Just wanted to check, most of this really applies to people who complete their buyer journey online, but from an agency point of view, we do have quite a few clients who convert offline, so 9 times out of 10 it's either a phone call or like a handshake or whatever, because yeah. So is there like any tools or anything that you can use to kind of, number one, get this information from the client, because that's one of the biggest roadblocks we have for first party data, and any like tools to maybe like help them make the process easier? Any advice at all would be really helpful.
For sure. So the second part that we discussed here, where we were enriching data, in that part we used already existing CRM data. But in some cases you can also have, so in this whole setup we are actually using webhooks and we're using contextual logic to combine analytics and CRM data. So instead of having it check for existing leads, you can also have webhooks where you're continuously feeding once a user enters your lead system or your funnel. You can just directly add them to your CRM or whatever. Even if you want to add them to your analytics, you can send that data and then it receives it there. So yeah, that should, I think that helped answer your question. Okay, awesome.
One question here and then a question right there. We've got a lineup.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. I was wondering, in addition to the tagging, would you recommend a conversion API to increase the reliability of the data going to platforms like Meta?
Totally. So conversion API is basically also a kind of server-side setup. It's for a platform like a Meta or something else. But in this case, once you have your first-party setup done, you can send that information to other like Meta and stuff as well. So you don't need that separately. This covers all of that. This is not just for Google Analytics and Google Ads. This will cover all that as well. If you look into like various other options and stuff that's available, if you're looking just to get Meta API setup, you can get it for a little bit cheaper. But in this, you can get it for all the other platforms. So you have that set up. Let's say you add Pinterest to your platform. You can then add Pinterest just as another vendor, and then all the data that's already flowing, you have the flow already done, and then it will just send that data to whatever vendor you choose.
So conversion API is specifically for Meta?
Yeah.
Okay. We are at noon, so we're going to take this last question, but unfortunately that's all the time we have. So yeah, what's your question?
Yeah, hi Ash, good presentation. Google Chrome, it has third-party data as to how it collects data, especially for paid advertising. It keeps on threatening that it's going to push to only first-party data. They also sometimes term it as zero-party data. I'm just wondering what the implications are when Google Chrome actually does this.
Okay, for sure. So even things like default, like cookie blocking or ad blockers, those get activated once the platform sees that you're not actually sending data to your server. The ad blockers often only get activated when you're sending it to some third-party vendor. If you're using this first-party data setup, the data is being sent to your own site. So like I said, the subdomain is just data.yoursite.com. So in that case, the ad blockers don't get activated, and the default cookie blocking or anything that has to do with all that, it doesn't get activated. And that's kind of one way to pass that.
Great. Well, we are going to go to lunch now. Just a reminder that there is a completely new session that's been added.